Hello again from my front porch. I was going to do this episode yesterday, but it was really hot. I would have had to have started by saying hello again from hell's front porch because that was the heat analysis that people were making. In fact, one of the funniest memes that I saw going around Facebook yesterday because of the heat here in Iowa was I've got to clean up my life. Today's weather has taught me I would not survive in hell. Now, of course, I mean, it's like if you take those things very seriously, obviously it's no joking about. But I believe in finding a little humor in everything where you can, and so I thought it was a funny joke. You don't like it, I'm sorry, but I thought it was funny. Anyway. What I wanted to talk about didn't have anything to do with yesterday specifically, so it's okay that it waited till today. But I mean, it was hot. It was very, very hot. In fact, it was so hot out here on the front porch yesterday that when I came out here today now to do this, I'm looking at a dead wasp that's laying over here on that literally cooked out here in the front porch. It's like, yay. Okay, so yeah, I was glad I was not out here. Anyway, so things happen in life. Things happen that a lot of times we greet with frustration and anxiety, anger, that we just get really upset with, and that's usually things that prevent us from doing what we were trying to do, or at least at the rate that we thought we were going to do it. And so, lest I keep talking all vaguely here, let me give you some better, clearer example. You ever been driving somewhere and you're trying to get there, and you might even be running a little behind, or you're running right at the time, and then you get stuck behind slow traffic? I had this happen recently. I was actually out on the interstate, and I had the dual truckers game going on multiple times. And what I mean by dual truckers game is I am convinced either this is something that's taught in trucker school, or it's something that just casually, informally, all the truckers come up with as a means of, filling their day, having a little fun on the road. But you'll be driving down the interstate where you have two lanes going the same direction. You're driving down the interstate, and you come driving up in the left lane, and you're catching up real quick to two semis that are in the right lane, one behind the other one. And as you approach, all of a sudden the one in the back now needs to get out and pass the other semi just as you're approaching. So they pull over just in time so they can cut you off and you can be behind them. And then those two semis will go right by each other for a very long time before finally this one creeps up and then finally gets over, and then you can zip past them. And I'm sure if you hung around with them, I'm sure before too long, the one that's now in the back would ultimately have to come around. Because I am convinced that this is something that is something that truck drivers are told. This is what you can do, and no joke. I was on the interstate for about an hour. Well, my trip was supposed to be an hour, but it took longer than an hour because almost every semi I came across was in twos, and I am not exaggerating. As soon as I saw it was two semis up ahead, I was like, oh, here we go again, because every single time the back one would pull out and they'd do this game. Now, did it frustrate me? Yeah, it did frustrate me. However, it could be that there was a reason for that. See, I've said before, as I get older, I believe that everything happens for a reason. I know that people say, well, things happen according to God's will, and God has a plan, and I totally believe that. I do. But I'm talking about even just in a more generic sense than that. That I don't think I don't know that God necessarily orchestrates every little minutia detail of what happens. I think sometimes we just reap what we've sown too. I think sometimes our choices lead us over here, and then this is the result of that. Whatever the case may be, I believe that when something happens, even if I don't understand why it's happening, there still is a reason it's happening. And maybe I have nothing to do with that reason. Maybe it's somebody else's issue going on. Maybe there's something that I'm being protected from. And I remember when I was dealing with my frustration, these semis, I heard my mom's voice in the back of my head, because my mom used to be, still would be. She hasn't driven now in a few years, but she used to be one of those people who, if we got slowed down, see, my dad was, get out of my way, get out of my way, get out of my way. My mom, on the other hand, when she was driving, we'd get slowed down, there'd be construction, there'd be something, she'd be like, well, I guess there's a reason we weren't supposed to get there right away. That was her attitude. Because she already was on board with this. Things happen for a reason mentality. Why should I get stressed about it? Why should I worry? And she would sometimes extrapolate that further, because when my dad would go off with his thing, she would attempt to calm him down by saying, well, now you don't know. Maybe if we would have been farther up the road, we might be in an accident. Or sometimes we'd be on a trip, we'd be driving up to Esterville to see family or whatever, and we'd stop and get something to eat, and then, little Paul or one of the other kids, would be cantankerous and would have trouble getting everybody loaded in, and my dad would be like, come on, I want to get going, I want to get on the road, I want to get going. I wanted to be leaving 10 minutes ago, I want to be leaving 20 minutes ago, come on, we got to get going. And my mom would say, well, maybe we were supposed to be delayed. Maybe that wasn't, we weren't supposed to be farther. Maybe something's going to happen. And sometimes, we would pass an accident. More often than not, we'd pass a police officer that had somebody pulled over that could have been my dad, although I don't know that actually would have happened. I'm still convinced that cops have this radar and that they can tell that my dad used to be a cop, and so he gets immunity. I'm convinced that's what happens. But still, point being, she was a very strong advocate of this. Whether you even are aware of it or not, you're being protected from something. And so I thought about that. I thought, well, maybe here I am hustling, trying to get to the place I want to get to on time. Maybe there's a reason I'm not supposed to get there on time. Maybe there's something going on up ahead that I may or may not ever know about. And I saw a meme today that brought this to a personal level, that talked about how sometimes people just drop out of our lives. And now there are times people exit our lives and we know exactly why. In fact, maybe we're the ones that showed them the exit door. But there are other times where somebody has been part of your life and then all of a sudden they're just gone. And you don't understand. You don't get it. What happened? Or sometimes even when you do know why they're gone, there's that emptiness, that sense of loss. As time goes on, it's like, oh man, why did that have to happen? Because now I feel bad this way, and if only that hadn't happened, then whatever. Point still being, this meme said sometimes, and it's not always, I'm not implying that, but sometimes people disappear from our lives because God heard conversations that you were never part of, and God spared you from continuing to be connected with this person that you're not connected with now. I thought, whew. The more I thought about it, the more I thought, wow, that's profound. Really, that's pretty deep. But I thought that when I was reading this meme, and then almost immediately I connected with getting frustrated behind those semis, and then what my mom's comment was, what my mom's perception of this was. And I thought, wow, maybe God is trying to tell me something. Maybe I'm getting this message from multiple angles right now for a reason. But I thought, that is so true though, because if you think about it, all of us start out our day and we have a plan for what's going to happen. And sometimes the plan happens exactly the way that we want it to happen, and cool, great, no big deal. But what happens when there is an alteration to the plan that's sort of forced on us, especially by situations outside our control that we're wishing we could be in control of, like the traffic? How do we respond then? I dare say more of us respond the way my dad did, and fewer of us respond the way my mom did. In fact, when I was behind the semis, I don't think I was as bad as my dad, but I was definitely more in the middle between the two. I was not all the way over where my mom's mentality was for the first, well, I might have been the first time. The second time, third time, fourth time, fifth time, sixth time, seventh time, eighth time, ninth time, it started to wear on me. But that's about the time that I was reminded of that mentality. And so I still didn't like when I got slowed down, because there still were even more of these dual semi game things. But I began to interpret it a little differently. I started thinking about it from the vantage point of, well, maybe there's a reason I'm not supposed to get there early. I'm gonna still get there as quick as I can, but yeah, I'm not gonna let myself get frustrated to get all angry about this. I can't control these semis. It's not like I in my little Toyota Corolla am going to come up and push the semi from behind. That is not going to work. That's not happening. No. And so what are you going to do? You have no control. What are you doing, Paul? Why are you getting all angry about something that you literally cannot impact, cannot change? Plus, it could be this is happening for a legitimate reason. Just like when people are no longer in our lives. Just like when life throws us a curveball that you know, I heard from a really good friend of mine, really close friend, that was let go from her job just yesterday. And yeah, that's sad because from what I could tell, she was good at her job. She enjoyed what she was doing with her job. And I certainly know that she was not expecting to be without a job like that. But it happened anyway. And it's an example. And I'm not calling her out here, because her response actually has been really, I've complimented her. That her response has been really mature, emotionally mature, really focused, really positive. She is dealing with the situation. She doesn't like it, obviously, but the way she's responding is really impressive, in my opinion. And I've told her that. I've complimented her on it and told her I was proud of her for what she was doing. But a lot of people, that's not the case. A lot of people, life throws a curveball. You lose a job that you had no intention of ever leaving, and all of a sudden you just get tossed aside. Oh, that's what they think of me. And it's just like getting stuck behind the semis. Can you control it? Can you get them to not fire you? Can you get them to not downsize you? Can you get the company to say, oh, well, we're sorry, please come on back? I don't know. Some people do sue and they're able to get something, but most of the time, the most you're going to get is a little bit of money. You're not going to get the job back. And for a lot of people, once you got fired in that kind of situation, that surprise got you a blindsided thing, you don't even want to go back, really. But you just want them to pay. But most people, there's no retaliation, there's no recourse, there's no response. It's what do you think inside? Because what you think inside, that is the only thing you can control. I've got a album on my personal Facebook that is called my attitude album. It's where I put memes and things that talk about attitude. And the cover meme for that is actually a little quote that I credit it to myself. Maybe others have said it as well. I would find it hard to believe that I'm the only person, but I swear I did not copy it from somebody. It just popped in my head one day and I memed it. I didn't put my name on it. I'm not that vain. But it simply is this concept that, you know, your attitude determines your altitude. And so where you're going to go depends more on you than anybody or anything else around you. And I really do believe that that's the case. And I get that from my mom. Thanks, Mom, for ingraining that in us. But when you stop and think about these situations happen, big or small, loss of a job, stuck behind slow traffic, doesn't matter. Loss of a friend, of a relationship, of somebody important in your life, doesn't matter. You can't control those things that happen. You can control what happens in here and in here. So, oh, Paul, that's so easy to say, but don't you know when this, I just can't help it. Okay, you know what? It's okay to blow off steam too. I'm not saying you have to pretend like you're a robot with no emotions. No. It's totally okay to vent and be torn up by something that is unfortunate. But ultimately, where do you go from there? Do you just wallow in it? Do you just roll around in the problems? Do you just wave the victim banner and just throw up your hands and say, I surrender, there's nothing I can do? Or do you acknowledge there is at least one thing you can do? You can check your attitude. I'm not saying you even have to feel good about the stuff that happens. But how does that impact you? Where do you go from there? Do you stay negative? Do you stay hurt? Do you stay focused on the pain and then spread that pain to others? Or do you react in optimism, hope? I've been laid off 3 times in my professional career. I didn't like it any of those times. Well, that's not entirely true. One of the times I got laid off and I was actually already looking to leave, and so I got to leave with a severance check, so that was actually a good one. But the other 2 times I was not looking. There was other stuff that was going on financially and organizationally, and I just got the legs chopped out from under me, and out the door I was sent. And when those things happened, I could have panicked, I could have been frustrated, but I used the opportunities to step back and go, do I want to go find another job just like that? Or would I like to go farther? Would I like to either look for something completely different or maybe something just a little bit different, go in a little different direction? And the result has been that each time that's happened to me, not only did I stumble into something else, but it was always something better. My pastor up in Ames even made a joke. One of the times it happened, he said, "Paul, you're the only guy I know that can get let go from your job and turn it into a promotion." Now I think it's a bit of an exaggeration, but I like the idea. But it wasn't that it was just whoop, it just magically happened. It was because I opted to recognize I had no control over the thing that hurt. And then I didn't let that hurt control me. I instead used the opportunity to see what else is going to happen. Now, I'm probably still going to get frustrated. I get behind some slow driving person. But I do try. I didn't do so good with the semis, especially after many of them. But I do try to always remember what my mom's advice was, because it's a good perspective. And with that, I'll let y'all go, and I'll see you next time from my front porch.